And just like that, the Demacian season was revealed, which immediately made me realize something. It feels like we already know everything, but Riot said there's gonna be another dev post in January. So what the heck are they cooking? Anyway, as of right now, the skins of the first act of 2026 are on PBE. They all already got their backstories too. There is also a new victory screen tied to all of this. And Summoner's Rift did also get some changes. It's not much, but it is still details that are worth a talk. But first, the main course, the skins. You see, by now we learned that if you have a look at the Skin Spotlight channel, just by the views alone, you can kinda tell what skins are gonna be popular. And let me tell you, it was a nice surprise to see that Cho'Gath is able to match the premium skin of the Battle Pass. And so, let's start with talking about Cho'Gath. Against all odds, Cho'Gath has actually been on a good streak with great skins. He doesn't get them often, but when he does, they are good. So previously we got the Broken Covenant skin, which heavily reminded me of something like Elden Ring, after which he got the Toy Terror, which was one of the best skins from the Toy series. And now he got a Petricite skin, which is definitely one of his best skins in general. Which says a lot, because I still like Battlecast the most. So, because Petricite is a complex thing, let's do a quick catch-up. As was mentioned in the newest dev post, the new season is gonna be about Demacia, with the skins being specifically based around Durand. Now, Durand was a legendary sculptor who created Petricite constructs that would protect Demacia against magic. The backstory here is that Petricite is a special material that is mined from the woods of Demacia. Yes, the trees there behave a lot more like pieces of rock instead of wood. And it turns out all those pale trees that are surrounding Demacia have the unique ability to absorb magic. Which is why Demacia became a really good place to hide from magic during the Great Rune Wars. Anyway, the most known Petricite constructs you would know is Galio. But Legends of Runeterra revealed that there are a lot more other different constructs. And so while Galio is not alone, he is still unique because he is the only one that is self-conscious. After which, the game Mageseeker later confirmed that some members of the Durand family are still alive. Anyway, the key point here is that all the Petricite constructs lay dormant until there is magic nearby. This is why at the beginning of every cinematic, Galio always starts as a statue and then he comes alive. In his case specifically, Lux is the only mage in Demacia that is so powerful that she can wake him up. The reason why I'm talking about this is because this is exactly what you can see in Cho'Gath's recall. You can see he almost T-poses at the beginning because he is a statue, but then he wakes up to protect Demacia. So for once, Cho'Gath can be seen as the good guy. And interestingly enough, as far as we know, Riot does have the freedom to just turn this skin into a canonical sculpture in Demacia. In fact, if we have a look at the bio of this skin, that's kinda what Riot is teasing. Behold the fearsome jaws and scriving limbs of this mighty statue, surely the likeness of some fell beast from the depths of wildwoods. Though it may strike fear into the heart of even the bravest warrior, all works of Petricite serve to protect the people of Demacia, and this glittering gargoyle is no different. See, Riot is having fun with potentially turning this skin into a canonical statue. What's even cooler, you can see that in this skin, Cho'Gath has the same decoration on his tail as Galio. I see what they've done with the reference. And speaking of seeing, let's have a look at what the skin actually does in the game. Now, remember, this is a skin you'll get from the Battle Pass. So just for context, compare this to something like, Alistar. Now yes, Cho'Gath is an older champion, and so some of the animations are wonky, but the entire Petricite theme actually saves it, because he is moving like an old statue. This does also come with special sound effects for all the rocks, which do some heavy lifting. After which, I have to say, the Q is gorgeous. We get a spot of light on the ground, after which we get some Petricite spikes. After which the W does something really interesting. You get a blast of light, which for the most part is referencing something like Lux. Again, it is all connected to how Lux and Galio are kinda buddies. But also, can you see the birds? The birds are here to kinda give you the scale of this skin being colossal. But dare I say, those birds are a missed opportunity. Because if you have a look at the splash art, what you can see there are the silverwing raptors of Demacia. And those raptors do look different from just normal birds. Now unfortunately, you can also see the normal birds in the splash art, so I'm gonna assume that's what the W is referencing. But hey, Riot, if you really wanna turn this into a cool thing, give the W some Demacian riders and turn the birds into the silverwings. Because that way, the skin would be calling for the Demacian riders with his W. That would be really cool. And so next, moving on, his E is, yet again, more Petricite spikes. And for the ultimate, even though normally there is not much happening with the effects, we do get a blast of light here, with the execute indicator being more Petricite spikes. And so overall, you can see that while this skin is nothing crazy, the theme is really good. And so far, the Cho'Gath mains seem to be quite happy. And on top of that, let's not forget that there are also chroma skins. That's right, previously the Battle Pass skins didn't get them, but they are back now. And they are using the now standardized color scheme, where most of these chroma skins work pretty well. And so let's just rejoice that Riot didn't experiment in a bad direction here. But now, moving on, still staying in the realm of Petricite constructs, let's have a look at Nautilus. Now here, this skin is basically a walking Petricite building, but Riot decided to give it some spice. A towering colossal bastion shaped by the hands of the royal battle masons. This Petricite wonder was lost beneath the waves of the Conqueror's Sea many centuries ago. Now risen once more, its impregnable parapets and buttressed walls stand as an eternal proclamation that no matter the threat, no matter the pressure, Demacia shall endure. Now even here you can see that there are quite a few references to lore. Of course, Nautilus in general is all about the ocean, and so they made this skin part of a Petricite building that sank in the Conqueror's Sea. And if you have a look at the map, you can find the Conqueror's Sea near the coast of Demacia. So yes, it all makes sense. Now, in his recall, you can see that Nautilus is warding off dark magic, because yes, that's technically what Petricite does. And again, even in this skin, the stone sound effects are great. His Q has a golden chain that kind of references the chains of Morgana, because Morgana is heavily tied to Demacia. The shields around his W now have a Demacian sigil on them, with the root really feeling like a massive bonk. Then his E are just normal waves of water with some Petricite in them, with the ultimate being one big reference to the bio, because you can actually see a piece of a building rising up from the Conqueror's Sea. What a great detail! And once again, this skin does also have chromas, but for some reason here Riot gave every chroma the same golden details, and so some of these chroma skins do kinda overlap and they don't look that different. And here we do also have to mention that this skin is the only one that is not on the Battle Pass. And so yes, the Petricite Nautilus will be up for 1350 RP. After which, let's have a look at the next one, which is Taliyah. With this skin being different, because Taliyah is representing one of the sculptors who are creating the constructs. For centuries, the stonemasons and artisans of Demacia have been awed by Duran's unrivaled works in the medium of Petricite. And young apprentices travel far to hone their craft under the tutelage of the great masters. But what more might be possible if such skill were augmented with elemental magic? So yes, here Taliyah is showing us what could a sculptor do if they were also a mage. What if, instead of chiseling away at Petricite, they used magic to sculpt it? Well, according to the lore, it would likely be very painful, because the Petricite would be eating away on her magic. And so, in the recall, we can see that Taliyah is just ripping up a piece of Petricite. Of course, both in her auto attacks and in the Q, she is just chucking pieces of Petricite at you. Her W puts a really cool light rune on the ground. It still kinda has a resemblance to the Ishtalia runes because it is elemental magic after all, but it is also similar to the light symbol that comes from Morgana, because yes, Morgana used to be one of the protectors of Demacia. Next, her E creates a variety of pebbles, which are of course Petricite. I do like the variations here. And her ultimate is a wave of Petricite arches from all the different buildings of Demacia. Like, you can see that these are just bunch of entrances to the buildings, and it looks awesome. Also, as Skin Spotlight's shown in his video, for one of the emotes, instead of Taliyah stepping on a stone, she does actually have a Demacian stand. So even this skin is really good with the details. And when it comes to the chromas, they are also good, because the different hair is kinda saving it. Other than that, there are some chromas that stand out, like the blue one, but other than that, they are the colors you would expect. Which takes us to the last skin, which is Morgana. Now originally I thought that this skin was one of the variety skins. It did kinda look like Crystal Rose or something like that to me. However, nope, this is the prestige skin from the Battle Pass, and once again, it is based on lore. Specifically, this is the Veiled Lady Morgana. The idea of this skin is really good, because it is depicting Morgana during the glorious days of her being one of the twin protectors of Demacia. And as such, she was seen as a divine being. What's also cool is that before Kayle and Morgana got into a fight because of a big disagreement, after which Kayle became the lone idol of Demacia, and Morgana slowly fell into the shadows as she was slowly forgotten by history. Well, for one, that is the reason why Morgana is called the Veiled Lady, but also you'll see that there is something really cool happening with blades. But first, let's quickly go through the bio. Oh, Veiled Lady, hear my plea. When light and justice feel beyond reach, let the wayward and the lost find forgiveness and renewed strength in your shadow. May your divine mercy guide them to reflect upon the chains that bind us all to one another, and know that even in our darkest hour, there is always a path to atonement. A traditional Demacian prayer. This is such a good nod towards Morgana being the matron of all the people who were forsaken by the Demacian ideals. It really fits the vibe that was set by the Mage Seeker game. But again, this skin is showing us Morgana as one of the twin protectors of Demacia, which is where we need to remember one thing. While Kayle and Morgana were still together, they each held one half of their mother's blade. So technically, if this is Morgana from the past, she should still be holding it. Now of course Riot can't do that because of clarity in the game, and so at the very least, you'll see there are a lot of blade references all around the skin. So first of all, in her recall, you can see Morgana being depicted on a Demacian window. I'll be honest, at first I was not sure what's happening on the window. It kinda looked like the wolf, you know, Kindred. But if you go back a little bit, you can see that there is Kayle in the background of the window, because she was one of the protectors, with a scale being depicted on the foreground, which would be representing Morgana. I mean, remember, they are the twin aspects of justice. Anyway, when it comes to the spell effects, you can see that with her auto attacks, Morgana is actually throwing out swords. Again, referencing her glorious days being the protector. Next, her Q creates a prison of swords. Her W is a really good stained glass, though it is nothing too crazy. And again, her E gives the target the wings of the protectors as well as swords. But then comes in the ultimate, which is by far the coolest. Again, because this is during the times when Morgana and Kayle were closer, you can see the heavy inspiration in Kayle's ultimate. And so just like Kayle can rain down swords, Morgana is doing the same in the ultimate. Whoever thought of this had a brilliant mind. Now, this skin does also have one chroma, which shows us a dark version of Morgana, which is far closer to the one that later went into the shadows. But that is it for the skins. But we are still not done, because next there is also the Demacian victory screen. I'll be honest, this one is really good. There is a big sword coming down onto the Nexus. Now this is not Garen's ultimate, no, Garen is not a mage. The big sword that comes down actually belongs to Kayle, who is helping the Demacians. But it is funny that both in the victory and in the defeat, the screen is kinda glorious. So when you lose with glory. And yes, it is gonna be up for the classic 250 Mythic Essence, which is kinda the norm now. Which takes us to the last part, which are all the Easter eggs that can be found on the new Demacian Summoner's Rift. Now, as I mentioned, there is not much happening here, which a lot of people will appreciate. It is not bad to have a standard Summoner's Rift after all. And so, when you have a look around, most of the Easter eggs will be around the bases. And so, the new Nexus is now referencing the stained glass that is surrounding Morgana. The turrets are now Petricite sculptures. Specifically, these are referencing the Petricite Goliath, which is a very specific construct you can find in Legends of Runeterra, with the inhibitors being turned into Petricite watermills. Now, while the map around the bases didn't change that much, we can still see a lot of hidden details around. For example, the bottom shopkeeper didn't change that much, but there is a lot of new items that are usually referencing the stonemasons. There is also archangels, there is also aegis, but the coolest reference here is the supply of Petricite. Just like we mentioned at the beginning, Petricite is mined from trees, which is why it does have the wooden texture, but it does behave like a rock, which is why it is blocks of Petricite. It's just one wagon and it looks really cool. Now, next up, as we scroll around, you can see a lot of different Demacian equipment. There are swords and shields and crossbows and bows. There are also different kinds of helmets. And funnily enough, we know the specific units these helmets belong to. Some of these are the sergeants, others belong to the Raptor Riders. After which there are 3 big Easter eggs hidden around the map. The first one is near the Wolf of the Bottom Jungle. Here you can see a Demacian altar with an item I have definitely seen before, but I just can't figure out if I've seen this because it was an old item or because it was an old icon of a champion ability. I have definitely seen this and I can't remember what it is. Then towards the other side of the bottom half, there is also the Demacian throne, which even does have the crown of King Jarvan III. It is a 1-to-1 match with the crown we've seen in the comics. But then as we go towards the top side, there are more tools of the stonemasons and the sculptors. And there are also some of these crosses, which I wonder if this is a reference to Morgana. I wonder if this is like a sword, or if it is a teaser for the next champion. Hey, let's not forget that Riot can do that. Which then takes us to the one Easter egg near the top side, which is an altar with Xin Zhao's broken spear. Yes, there is not much to be said here. Xin Zhao broke it when he fought demons. And then he died. Which then takes us to the top shopkeeper, which has a whole new Demacian balloon. Here, there is just a bunch of references to new items. Most of these being Demacian weapons. And that is it. There is nothing special happening underneath the map. I checked. And so, overall, there is still a lot of Demacian details all around us. That is both in the skins and, surprisingly, around the map. But that is it for this video, so now I would just like to ask you one thing. Please someone tell me what this is, I'm going crazy.